Welcome to Beat the Champ, presented by Storm. It's the third week of our stay at Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York. We've got a new champion this week. He's Steve Dorobiala. Three guys are going to try to challenge him and take that crown away. Derrick, Greene, Jayson, Schubbe, and Frank Diminuco. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Peck with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Nawojski. We've seen some interesting stuff on the first 2 weeks here at Manor Lanes. These guys have been challenged. Steve Dorobiala, the guy who figured out how to answer those challenges and knock off our three-time winner, George Schubbe.
Yes, I think that, bowling on a wood condition is always challenging, and the lanes change a little bit more than you might see in a normal condition. So who's on top of those changes is really the person that's going to shine.
Yeah, these lanes have really challenged the mental part of this bowling, when to switch, when to move, when to change balls. It's been really interesting to watch.
Right, and we have very different styles today. So we have right-handers, two-hander, left-hander, no, we have everything. So who's going to figure this out?
All right, well, how's that for pumping up what we're going to see over the next hour? Sue just did a great job about it. I know our bowlers are going to do a great job. Let's get started. Our first match from Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York is coming your way next on Beat the Champ. Beat the Champ is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company, and by Latina Boulevard Foods, your favorite family in food distribution. Match number one, Derrick Greene on the left, the always colorful Jayson Schubbe on the right, as we get things started here. Week number 3 at Manor Lanes, and Jayson Schubbe going to start things off for us. 42 years old, from Lakeview, New York. Comes in with a current average of .218, and we'll talk a little bit about where he is at in his bowling life at the moment a little later on in this match. And not quite the start that Jayson wanted here, and we'll have to work to pick up that spare to get things going.
I think it's safe to say that these lanes are challenging, and we've seen quite a few, lower scores, maybe not low, but lower. And it's because the shots do have to be perfect, and they are just a little bit tough. So we can expect a little bit of lower scores.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question. Why wouldn't Jayson have just kind of gone right at those two stacked in front of each other? Instead, he kind of played the hook, and it literally hooked around the front pin.
I think there's something we call carry down, and that means the oil has carried down the lanes, which means the ball isn't hooking where it's supposed to.
Well, Derrick Greene didn't need to worry about any of that. 34 years old, from Buffalo, New York. A hefty .244 average right now for Derrick, who is battling back from some injuries and is just kind of finding his groove, and a lot of power in that shot from Derrick Greene.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of ball speed this young man has, and he doesn't put his thumb in the ball. He's cradling it, as you can see in his left hand there. Short back swing, elbow out a little bit.
Good start for Derrick. Strikes in the first 2 frames. Jayson Schubbe has also battled some injuries. He told me some leg injuries and a couple of things. And that's part of the reason why he's actually not bowling in any leagues right now, and just taking a little time off to recover. But when he heard about the opportunity to get on the show, he picked up the bowling balls and headed over, and just missed out qualifying for the show at Transit Lanes, and was able to qualify here at Manor Lanes.
Great shot.
But, and then there's a perfect example of what Jayson said. He said the challenge for me right now is I'm not very consistent, because I'm not bowling regularly during the week. And he goes, I could throw a 250 today, I could throw a 175. So in his first 2 frames, an open and a strike, that's the microcosm of that, isn't it?
That's exactly true. He is using urethane ball. We touched on that, in one of the earlier shows on the reasons for using urethane ball.
Is that on loan from the Smithsonian, the Bowling Hall of Fame?
This one's a little newer than Chris's was. But it enables him to go up the boards. As you can see, that ball went straight up the boards. If we were looking at reactive resin, you'd be seeing the ball go away, more like our past champion, George Schubbe, did. But this urethane gives them the opportunity to go straight up the boards, control the amount of hook. you see.
Yeah, and we referenced this on one of our earlier shows that, urethane is a 1990s technology that has found its way back onto the lanes. That's why we kind of joked it as an on loan from the Smithsonian, because guys haven't used urethane in 25 years, but now are finding that particularly for the two-handers, it's appropriate for how they throw.
Right. It reduces the amount of hook, so the overreaction that you get when reactive balls hit the dry, the urethane smooths it out.
So if you have a couple urethane balls sitting in the garage, you're waiting for their value to rise again, now might be the right time to cash in.
There you go. That was in.
Ooh, big hook at the end of that for Derrick.
So I think that's one of the things that happen with these power players here is he doesn't have his thumb in the ball. He's relying on his arm action. And if your timing gets off just a little bit, you're going to pull it. And he pulled it in front of his body, and then the power takes off, and he flags the head pin to the right entirely.
Yeah, as you can see, get a good close-up there of how Derrick is gripping the bowling ball. And other than what we just saw in the third frame, he is locked in. That strikes in 3 of the first 4 for Derrick Greene.
Wow, that is a tremendous amount of ball speed that he has in the.
Yeah, and it's just a good, nice, easy, natural motion.
Yep, that is a nice approach down at the line. A lot of power.
And a nice answer from Jayson Schubbe with his second strike of the first 4 frames. IT professional at ECMC, Erie County Medical Center here in Buffalo, New York. And again, 18 career 300 games for Jayson Schubbe, a career-high series of 823. Some terrific tournament wins, first at the 2019 Buffalo City Tournament. High-level bowling, even from back in his high school days at Iroquois High School, just outside of Buffalo. And Jayson Schubbe is on that list of some of the best bowlers in Buffalo. We just won't add that shot to the resume tape.
Well, that is one of the things about using a ball that's not going to hook. I mean, we know these lanes are dry, went away a little bit, and the ball just never picked up. It hit that carry down and just continued on straight. And that's the result.
It's so unusual to see a ball not turn like that.
Well, we talked about what the results of using the urethane was going to do as far as pushing the oil down, and that oil has been pushed down to what would have been a break point. And the ball's just skating right through it.
Yeah, because it's the dry boards that create the break point.
Correct.
So that's 2 opens in the first 5 now for Jayson Schubbe. And with Derrick Greene kind of feeling like he's locked in, there's going to be a lot of work left for Jayson Schubbe.
That's true.
I don't know if I mentioned this already, but Derrick Greene coming off an arm injury on that left arm, just kind of fighting his way back now, and been working hard to do that, and the results are there. Bowled an 800 series at a tournament in Washington, D.C., had a 300 game at a tournament in West Virginia, had a chance to bowl the USBC Masters in Detroit. So those are among the resume points for Derrick Greene, a graduate of Burgard High School here in Buffalo, and bowled there as well. So it's a good start for Derrick. Strikes in 4 of the first 5 frames.
A strike here will put him up 30 plus.
He liked it. Oh, and he just didn't get everything he wanted.
Nothing you can do about that. That was a good shot right there.
It does seem like every time this month we get to a point where a bowler gets hot and feels like he's going to start to run away. The Manor Lanes demons come back and bite. So Derrick Greene off to a great start here in our opening match against Jayson Schubbe. Will continue when we return. It's Beat the Champ, presented by Storm.
What is it about bowling that captivates us so much? Mastery of the game is impossible, but perfection is just within reach. Success seems to lie 60 feet ahead, but the real battle takes place 6 inches between your ears. So if no matter how many times you fail, you would still do anything, and I mean anything, just to get 1% better. We know exactly how you feel.
Hey, Paul, what are you doing? Hey, Sue. Hey, didn't you hear? We're bowling on MSG. I've got to practice.
No, Paul, we're not bowling on MSG. We're hosting bowling on MSG.
Oh, thank goodness, because there is no way I was going to be ready. Beat the Champ here on MSG. Soon Nawojski and I will bring you all the action. We'll see you on the lanes.
Paul, were you going to bowl in a suit?
It's our opening match here of week number 3 at Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York. Jayson Schubbe trying to play a little catch-up right now on Derrick Greene, who has built a pretty sizable lead about midway through our first match.
Yeah, midway through, Jayson's down 41 pins and still kind of looking for a consistent shot to the pocket. He is using 2 different balls. I see he's got this blue ball here. Oh, he'll take that.
Not exactly how you plan it, but Jayson will walk away and go, I will take that. Watch this one again. That's a very unusual result. How did that happen? Why did that happen?
The pins in the back just fell forward and collided with it.
Love the reaction.
Tournaments have been won with shots like that.
Love the reaction from Jayson. He was thinking what everybody else was thinking. Like, I don't know how that happened, but it did, thankfully. That's a little more traditional that way.
Nice to make a double out of it, though. If you're going to get a break, you might as well cash it in.
So Derrick Greene maybe was on the brink of trying to run away with this one a little bit, but that last spare and then the double from Jayson has tightened this match up.
Well, he cut it to 31. That's all he can do now.
And if Derrick keeps answering like that, he won't cut it much more than that.
Right back at you with the break.
Yep, and you can see the camaraderie between the two guys. That's one of the best things, hopefully, as you watch our broadcast and you sneak those peeks at the two guys when they come together on a changeover or whatever. It's great to see just the culture and camaraderie of, there you go, look at Derrick is like, you got one, I got one.
He said right back at you, exactly.
That's fantastic. and these guys are competing against each other, but so many of them are friends. They bowl on teams together. They bowl tournaments together. It is such a wonderful community here in Western New York.
And he also capitalized that and made a double out of it.
So that's the perfect way to answer for Derrick Greene. Got a good cheering section here at Manor Lanes rooting him on. So Jayson's going to have to keep adding doubles here to try to keep this one within range and hope that Derrick stumbles somewhere along the line.
He needs this one just to keep the deficit 31 pins.
The 4-pin uncooperative.
You can definitely see that there's a difference in the lanes, how they're playing them. He was way more direct on the right lane. That one, he just overcompensated a little bit. 4 pins, the result of a somewhat high hit.
And the spare pickup there for Jayson Schubbe in the 8th frame. Next up, winner of this match takes on Frank Diminuco, and the winner of that match will try to knock off our champion, Steve Dorobiala. Good ninth frame strike for Jayson Schubbe.
I'm definitely getting the feeling that Jayson prefers that left lane. If you look at it, he can just play right up. Well, he's about 8-9 there, at the 8-9 board, directly at the pocket. Rolls up perfectly.
Yeah,
Nice
you heard him
mix.
say that's better. He knew it right away.
He opened that up quite a bit, moved in, moved his target left.
So a little self-coaching there from Derrick to make the adjustments he needed to make, and successfully, and he is going to be on his way to a victory.
It's the first strike here will mathematically shut out Jayson.
Not quite.
He does get a little excited and yip on it a little bit, and his errors seem to always be to the left, to his right.
So Derrick with the spare shot, and it's going to be a win for Derrick Greene. He'll advance on match number 2 against Frank Diminuco. Coming your way next as we continue Beat the Champ, presented by Storm. Off the impressive 234-201 win, Derrick Greene advances on to match number 2, where Frank Diminuco awaits, and Frank will get us started, and he is familiar and comfortable as a regular league bowler here at Manor Lanes.
Yes, that's what we understand. Is he's very familiar with the nuances of these pairs here at Manor Lanes.
As he said to me during the warm-ups, I know this place like the back of my hand. And right now that back of his hand has a big X written on it because he gets started with a strike. So this could be a really interesting, powerful, lots of strikes kind of match. I'm feeling that a little bit based on what we know about Frank and what we saw from Derrick in that very impressive victory.
Yep.
Yeah, and a
give him
little cringe with that 7-pin.
Yep, just the ball is coming towards the pocket very late. That late break is what makes the 4 swing around the 7. I have to give him it all a thought because I always want to say the right-handed version of it, and I got to give it a second thought.
So what's the adjustment on that?
You really want the ball just to pick up a little bit earlier. And you don't make a whole lot of adjustments when you're leaving corner pins. Now, we've got a 1-game match. If you're getting down, then you can just throw caution to the wind. But for the most part, you don't do a whole lot to change.
Sure.
When you're hitting the pocket.
You could then create other problems
right,
for yourself.
You lose the pocket altogether.
Yep. So the Buffalo, New York native eyes the pins for frame number 2. And back to striking is Derrick Greene.
Well, one thing about bowling is that even though the lanes are oiled the same, let's take one more look. That's intensity right there.
Yeah.
Even though the lanes are oiled the same, they break down a little bit different. They have different characteristics, and you'll find sometimes one lane is different than the other. And in this case, I think the right lane is a challenge. And whoever figures out that right lane, right there.
Yeah. Ick is the best way to describe that for Frank. 4-7-10.
Well, it's actually hard to get the ball to hook on the right lane. So the guys are tending to pull it, just trying to get it to the pocket. And that leads to inconsistency. And you could pull it too much is what just happened here.
39 years old from Tonawanda, New York is Frank Diminuco. .225 average. Again, part of that coming from his regular league bowling here at Manor Lanes.
Nice
made a
try.
nice run at it, but it'll be 9 pins and an open for Frank Diminuco in the second, and he'll have to fight his way back from that. 10 career 300s, a high 812 series. Bowled is from, as I mentioned, from right here in Tonawanda, bowled at Sweet Home High School on the high school bowling team then, and has just been a regular league bowler and a good one. And again, missed the pocket that time. A little bit light on that shot and leaves himself some work to do.
Yeah, looks to be. A little bit light, 2-8. And this is always the challenging spare because you have to hit it right on to get that back sleeper out. Good
and he
shot.
does.
Kind of opened the door a little bit for Derrick here, who definitely seems to have a little bit more of a advantage as far as getting to the pocket.
Yeah, he had 8 strikes in that first match 234 win over Jayson Schubbe, and you know, when Derrick when he finds things right, he can put a bunch together like that. That's 2 in a row, double for Derrick.
By his sheer power, it seems like when he hits the pins, he really shatters pins. And that is the two-handed advantage. You know, without having to clear that thumb, you can definitely get a higher rev rate. And I know I talk about rev rate, and rev rate is actually the revolutions per minute on a bowling ball. And for the average bowler, you're talking about 300 to 350. It's what they normally get. About 17 miles per hour. Not me, more like 14 miles per hour.
So if that's what the standard numbers are,
right.
Give me an idea of what you think Derrick, the way he's throwing it, might be.
I would love to know. And you do it by putting a piece of tape on the ball. There is a method to determining your rev rate, and we would have to do that for him.
That's awesome. And just watch it back and count how many times
you track how many times
Interesting.
It goes over, yeah.
But I mean, are we talking in relative terms? And I don't want to put you on the spot here. Double the amount of revs from a normal? Is it a third more? Like, you know, take a guess.
Take a guess.
Yeah.
I would be guessing.
I mean, I know, like you can get over 20 miles an hour sometimes when you're the big throwers, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You said 17 for the normal
17
bowler.
18 is normal, yes. Oh, nice hit.
Nice. Late hit on the 7, but that's a double for Frank Diminuco. So, yeah, so that gives you some interesting perspective on, you know, and again, you can see it with your own eyes, the difference in the speed and power. And Frank throws it hard, too, but he's throwing it as a traditional bowler. Derrick is throwing it as the two-hander. And you can see that when Derrick locks in, he is blowing those pins out of the back of the well. Now, that didn't break until way late and didn't break where he wanted it to break. So that light hit will leave Derrick some work to do. So let's see. What do we got left here, Sue? This is a little unusual.
Yeah.
3, 4, 7. Yeah, and that's what you just got to do. Get what you can get, which is the 3-pin. So that's an open in the 5th for Derrick. So each guy with an open. The difference right now is 3 strikes for Derrick, and well, no, correction. They both have 3 strikes. So 3 strikes, 1 spare.
We've got a pretty close even match with that, and that's just the thing with the challenging lane conditions is there can be an open anywhere, and it can change. As long as you stay close, the match can go either way.
And this time, it's another bit of a challenging leave for Derrick Greene.
Yep, to the opposite side. What Frank left on his last shot on that lane. Again, that sleeper makes it challenging. You have to hit the pin. You have to hit the 6 straight on.
So let's see what Derrick will do with this, and he'll
Perfect.
get them both. So a nice
I guess we were
spare
coming at it.
pickup. Nice spare pickup in the 6th frame. We got a good match going. Come on back. We'll wrap it up. Derrick and Frank and you on Beat the Champ.
The Western New York area has long been considered one of the best anywhere for the sport of bowling.
And no matter where you live, we have lanes nearby.
For top competition,
Fun with family and friends.
great food and drink, or just a night out, we got you.
We are
The bowling proprietors.
of Western New York.
Stop in and enjoy our sport today.
12X Tech Bowling Supplies is committed to continuing the decades-long tradition of excellence established by the DeSanto family. We are the ultimate destination for customer service, experience, and product variety. We offer an extensive inventory of balls, bags, shoes, and accessories. Our unique fitting and drilling process, combined with our in-house lane, ensures a perfect fit every time. With a range of repair and maintenance services, we can help keep your gear performing at its best. Consult our team today at 1000 Highland Drive in the J. Scuddy South Plaza, conveniently located off of 390 in Henrietta.
I'm Paul Peck.
And I'm Sue Nawojski. We want to see you out here bowling for the top spot on Beat the Champ.
So get to any of our great host centers and get the details on how you can be a part of the show and be our next winner.
And don't miss any of the action here on MSG every week.
Yeah, so check out the show next week or get out there and qualify and be our Beat the Champ winner.
Good match going on here between Frank Diminuco and Derrick Greene. The winner will take on our returning champion, Steve Dorobiala, to see who gets to claim this week's title as champion of all Buffalo bowling for this week.
Well, this is a big strike. This is a big frame, actually, because if he strikes, he can take the lead in this match.
Yeah. So after Frank throws this, I want to follow up on the point we were just talking about the rev rates. And
Right
that's
there.
a good-looking shot from Frank Diminuco. So we talked just a minute ago about, Frank is going to be on the high end as a traditional style bowler at about 350 revolutions on his ball. But we talked about related to how hard Derrick throws it. What do you think the number there is for him?
Well, we think it's probably in the 500 range. I mean, it's not double,
right, but that's
it's significant.
Good 25-30% increase. So, and it covers up more mistakes is what the higher rev rate will do for you.
But it also it will give you better carry when you throw pins around. We hear the pins, we see what Derrick does, but he also can leave some weird formations like we saw that split he left.
Yeah, I mean it increases your ability to blow through the pins, but it doesn't necessarily mean you just can throw it anywhere you want to.
Good spare there.
Yep, 7th frame spare pickup for Frank Diminuco.
All right, we got a real tight match here.
So how does Derrick respond after after 3 strikes in a row in frames 2, 3, and 4? We had an open in the 5th and a spare in the 6th. So I know Derrick is thinking, how do I get back to where I'm throwing the ball well? And maybe that's how you do it.
That looked like a ball change there. I mean, that ball
Definitely had first time we saw that.
Yeah,
that
sometimes
shiny
you can
blue
see.
ball.
Watch. Sometimes by the markings on the ball, you can really get an idea. You can see the dot on that ball, and how many times it was going down the lane. It was how fast it was going down the lane. Kind of gives you an idea of that rev rate.
We gotta break out the super slow-mo Beat the Champ cam.
Yeah.
We'll get executive producer Joe working on that for next week.
And we have another lead change.
Back and forth we go.
That shot there puts Derrick up 6 pins. And that looked like a good ball change for him.
Let's see if he knew it. Yeah, he did. He knew it, and he enjoyed it. Frank Diminuco said the key to bowling here, because he bowls in the league here, is you have to be precise. And there is an example of just a little off from precise.
He said you had to be precise?
Yes. Because of the wood lanes and, you know, the age and some of those other things that are a little more challenging in a house like this.
Yep, there are definitely different nuances to wood lanes than you would to a synthetic house. And like I said, from end to end, from pair to pair, there can be a lot of differences. And in any house, you know, wherever the counter is, it's always been said that the lanes in front of the counter will hook more than the lanes further away, because all the open bowling gets put close to the counter so you can watch the open bowlers.
That
so
makes
there's
perfect
so
sense.
much more play on those lanes than there would be on, say, end pairs.
That in an odd way, it makes perfect sense. It's not going to go down.
That was a paralyzer.
Yep,
When
just
the
a
pins-
little bit of a light hit. And
spun it around, but
yep.
kept it standing. And the pin got off spot, and the machine knocked it down. So it got knocked off where it would normally be picked up. So we're going to have to reset that 5-pin in the 5-pin position. And if a pin gets moved in one of these situations, the pin gets moved out of its position, the pin gets set back up in the position, in its original position, regardless of where it slid to. So sometimes you'll see a pin slide, like the 5-pin will slide like into like the position to the left. If you have to reset it because it was knocked over by the machine, it gets set up in its original position.
Gotcha. All right, now 9th frame for Derrick Greene. Can he add his 2nd straight victory and challenge Steve Dorobiala for the title this week? And a late fall of the 7 gets him 3 in a row.
Well, we are liking that ball change. Look at that tap on the 7 on the 7
Just a
pin.
nudge, right? Just a very gentle tap. So an opportunity here in the 10th frame for Derrick Greene to clinch this victory.
A mark is all he needs. But they're going to make him work for it.
Yep, absolutely. The pesky 7-pin says, I'm not done with you yet. So he'll need this spare and then just some count, 4 pins on the fill ball in order to win. And a little opportunity for a deep breath there for Derrick Greene.
As many times as we shoot these corner pins, when it's for a match, that always makes them just a little bit tougher.
Yep. All right, so just get a nice ball down to the other end of the lanes and clinch yourself a victory for Derrick Greene. He was impressive in match number 1, putting up a 234. And this is going to be a nice score as well. And how about finishing it off that way and putting up a 222. Derrick Greene with the victory. Championship match is coming your way next. Our host center for Beat the Champ, presented by Storm, is Manor Lanes. You can find them online at manorlanes.com. They're just one of our many great host centers. If you want details on how to be a part of Beat the Champ, just stop in at any of the host centers and ask how you could be on the show. And we might be seeing you here on the lanes. We are ready for our championship match. Steve Dorobiala, our returning champion from last week, and the red-hot Derrick Greene, who has averaged 228 in his 2 matches so far here today. And this will be a good challenge. Steve Dorobiala, as we saw last week, is precise and throws the ball well, and he knows how to make adjustments versus Derrick Greene and his power. So that's the setup for this one. And there's the power on display in frame 1.
Yep, that's a lot of power right there. Just throwing pins everywhere. And I don't think he's missed since he switched to that ball.
Yeah, that light blue ball has been the godsend right now for Derrick Greene. 46-year-old Steve Dorobiala from Orchard Park. Regular in a couple of lanes every week, 20 career 300s, a high 836 series, some Buffalo City tournament wins on his resume. Good, solid bowler, and we saw what he did last week in knocking off George Schubbe, who had won 3 in a row, 216 to 181 in our championship game after Steve had put up a 246 in the match before that. So Steve's bowling well, and again, is going to be challenged in this match before we are able to call one of them our champion.
And I think you have to mention that, with this format, with the champ always, waiting for the rest of the bowlers to get to him. I mean, that's great that you're sitting in that position where you can only be first or second, but you are sitting throwing a few balls here and there to keep warmed up. But you're also bowling someone who has kind of been on a roll. So it might take a frame or two to get yourself back into the match,
2 frames.
Or 2 frames. He's here.
Spare strike in the first 2 frames for Steve Dorobiala. And as we watch, just take note of Derrick Greene's intensity. Listen for how he talks to himself. Just like that.
Well, he couldn't have thrown that any better.
Nope.
With the right ball in your hand gives you a feeling of extra confidence. I mean, there has been no yips, no, hit the ball at the bottom, pull it, where we saw a little bit in earlier matches. He has been dead on every shot.
Yeah, just love the enthusiasm, love the determination, love the expression from Derrick when things are going well. Look how I really noticed that maybe my eye just caught it, just how fast that ball was.
I know.
spinning.
I didn't know that it was possible to leave this pin, but he literally missed the ball. Literally missed this pin. Watch it cut through the pins.
That's the 9 pin, correct?
It is. Ball went straight back. Never touched it.
It was going so hard and so fast, it just stayed straight and blew through a straight line.
Didn't continue through and knock that out.
All right, he rescues the spare in the 3rd frame. And a good start.
That's right. Now Steve has a chance to even this match up, even go ahead. But this lane, like I said, I think this right lane here is the obstacle. This is the one you have to figure out.
The contrast in styles are interesting to watch here from the rather unique approach from Steve Dorobiala. That's a double for him. You talked about this on the last show, just very unique to see the way Steve sort of cups that ball around his elbow and gets it right close to his face.
You could see how far inside of his target that was. That's another thing, when you're using, when you're cupping your wrist like that, your wrist can get tired. And it depends. You have to let it go right at the exact time. Another one that went high on him.
Yeah, and that one did not quite have the speed either. Kind of died right at the end.
Now that one wasn't as far. He didn't miss his target by as much on that one, but the result was pretty similar.
So 2 strikes and 2 spares in the first 4 frames for Steve Dorobiala.
Well, he's going to be shaking his head about that one a little bit.
Yeah, and and again, I think the way he was watching Derrick like we were watching Derrick, and he's got to know that when Derrick finds that groove and locks in, he can really blow some pins out of the water, and that has to be the fear as you think about your opponent. It got there. Pretty much know halfway down the lane based on what Derrick says what we should expect to see. It almost looked like it was going to stay a little bit left and not get where he wanted it to go. Fifth frame.
Keep an eye on his trajectory. That
way left. Wow. And lucky.
That got all the way to the gutter.
Hey, sometimes you need a little bit of this, right?
Yep, that was a break.
It almost missed the head pin. Results are the same. They might look different, might sound different, but 10 pins is 10 pins.
Speaking of 10 pins.
I keep waiting as I watch Steve, maybe before this one's over, as he gets that ball so close to his face, keep waiting for him to go full Brad May and give the thing a little kiss there. Oh. If you're a Buffalo Sabres hockey fan and you're old enough to remember the May Day goal when he kissed the stick beforehand. And he will be kicking himself instead of kissing himself for that leave.
Yep, we've almost seen that shot. That was back-to-back on that lane. Very similar shot, very similar leave. This is critical times in the match now. And his ball speed almost feels slow, and I don't know if that's the...
So a spare in the sixth frame, but Steve's got a little work to do because Derrick Greene's on a roll. We'll wrap this one up and crown a champion when we return on Beat the Champ.
What is it about bowling that captivates us so much? Mastery of the game is impossible, but perfection is just within reach. Success seems to lie 60 feet ahead, but the real battle takes place 6 inches between your ears. So if no matter how many times you fail, you would still do anything, and I mean anything, just to get 1% better. We know exactly how you feel.
Paul, what are you doing?
Hey, Sue. Hey, didn't you hear? We're bowling on MSG. I've got to practice.
No, Paul, we're not bowling on MSG. We're hosting bowling on MSG.
Oh, thank goodness, because there is no way I was going to be ready. Beat the Champ here on MSG. Soon Nawojski and I will bring you all the action. We'll see you on the lanes.
Paul, were you going to bowl in a suit?
Great start on the front side for Derrick Greene. 4 strikes and a spare as he eyes the pins for frame number 6. And Steve Dorobiala has bowled well also, but 3 strikes and 3 spares has him trailing at the moment, and kind of a feeling that Derrick Greene is really locked in.
Wow.
Boy, that pin
that did not look
might have bounced off the ceiling.
That did not look like that could have been left on that shot.
Watch the flying pin that should take the 10 out. Look how much movement there was on that.
That did hit the ceiling. Well, these are the great equalizers here. keeping Steve in this match.
Spare in the 6th for Derrick Greene.
9 pins separate the two of them.
The wheels are turning. You can feel it. You can see it. He's thinking about, what are they going to do to me this time?
That's
and
right.
How do I
He's
need to
thinking-
respond?
He's thinking 9 pin, 10 pin.
What do those crazy pins have ready
Yeah.
for me on this one? And you didn't mention the 7 pin.
I didn't. He's looking at the whole back row coming up. But he's putting it right there. These are just true taps.
You know what? To Derrick's credit, he's made all those spares, and he's been incredibly consistent.
Excellent point. You have
You
to
know,
make your spares.
He had one open frame in the match before this, but everything else, and he's left a lot of those single pins spared. Not a lot, but enough of the single pins, and he's made it a point to get all of them.
And enough where it could be where he would feel a bit agitated by it, and he is keeping his head about him. So I want to point out here the difference in ball speed. And I can't tell if Steve is just throwing it a little bit slower or if just the comparison between watching Derrick throw it so hard makes it seem so different.
Do you think that's part of it?
Yeah, but keeping your speed up on these lanes, on these conditions is super important. Soft speed is not your friend on wood lanes that are a little bit broken down.
Because the lanes are going to contribute to slowing the ball down as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of dry, and when balls hit the dry, they actually slow down.
So you almost have to overcompensate for that with your
Yeah, and you have to get it
speed.
clean through the front of the lane because the front of the lane will burn up your bowling ball, which means it will hit kind of weak and you'll lose your carry. So you need to get it through the fronts.
Yeah, and right now Steve seems to be struggling a bit. That's 3 frames in a row where where he's left pins. And I think you make the point that might be the best to explain why. It's been a noticeable drop in his speed from early in the match. So spares in 6, 7, and 8. Derrick Greene has spares in 6 and 7 as he gets set for 8.
Still only 11 pins separating them.
Yeah, this match is right there for the taking for one of these guys. Which one, and who? Maybe that starts to give us our answer.
That was a beauty.
Good strike in the 8th frame for Derrick Greene.
Watch this 7 pin come across the deck, all the way across.
Yep. He didn't need it to take anything out, but if he did, it was there to do it. Yeah, you didn't see it, but I think that was another good fist pump from Derrick there when he saw the results. And you heard him cheer it on, and it is successful, and that might be the moment right there for Derrick Greene.
Yep, that's 21 pins ahead with only 2 bowling frames to go for Steve.
Back-to-back strikes, 8 and 9, when he needed them the most. Derrick Greene isn't even looking at Steve right now.
Must-strike situation for Steve.
And he
All
got
right.
it. Flying pin took out the 10 to keep him in contention.
So
All right, so now 3 more chances to strike for Steve, and he pretty much needs them all.
he needs them all. There's no question about it. He needs all the count. He needs every pin here.
And that time it was a ring around the 10, and that's not what he needed. Look at Derrick. Look at Derrick. I don't know if it's the emotions or I think he knows he's won this, and
I'm sure he
fighting
does.
some
I'm
things
sure he
right
knows
now,
the math.
Fighting some joy right now. The fill ball for Steve Dorobiala, and then the triumphant moment here for Derrick Greene.
Oh, sure. Now it's there.
Sure. A 206 for Steve Dorobiala. Just hit some pins, and Derrick Greene can celebrate as a Beat the Champ winner. I don't mind the early celebration. It might not have been exactly what he was hoping for, but that doesn't.
Nope, he just needed pins.
Deter,
That's all that mattered.
It doesn't deter from anything.
That's a very happy young man right there.
Yeah, it sure is, and he's having fun with it, and he knows it, and Derrick Greene is your winner of this week's stop at Beat the Champ. We'll hear from Derrick when we return to Manor Lanes in a moment.
The Western New York area has long been considered one of the best anywhere for the sport of bowling.
And no matter where you live, we have lanes nearby.
For top competition,
Fun with family and friends.
Great food and drink, or just a night out, we got you.
We are
The bowling proprietors.
of Western New York.
Stop in and enjoy our sport today.
12X Tech Bowling Supplies is committed to continuing the decades-long tradition of excellence established by the DeSanto family. We are the ultimate destination for customer service, experience, and product variety. We offer an extensive inventory of balls, bags, shoes, and accessories. Our unique fitting and drilling process, combined with our in-house lane, ensures a perfect fit every time. With a range of repair and maintenance services, we can help keep your gear performing at its best. Consult our team today at 1000 Highland Drive in the J. Scuddy South Plaza, conveniently located off of 390 in Henrietta.
I'm Paul Peck.
And I'm Sue Nawojski. We want to see you out here bowling for the top spot on Beat the Champ.
So get to any of our great host centers and get the details on how you can be a part of the show and be our next winner.
And don't miss any of the action here on MSG every week.
Yeah, so check out the show next week or get out there and qualify and be our Beat the Champ winner.
Beat the Champ is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company, and by the Bowling Proprietors Association of Western New York. Stop in and enjoy our sport today. 225 to 206 makes Derrick Greene a Beat the Champ winner. I think he's the happiest guy in Western New York right now. I think his face tells you that, Sue.
All right, I'm going to ask him the easiest question ever. What did this win mean to you?
It means a lot. You know, I've been battling through a lot of injuries since the PWBA Masters, and with my friends that's been supporting me, that's been pushing me, it just feels so good to be back on top of where I was before I got injured.
It was fun to watch you. It was fun to see the emotion that's a part of your victory. There is more bowling to come. We're going to see him again next week when you join us on Beat the Champ.